Welcome to Arsenal Above All. It's been a while. Lots happened. They say a week's a long time in football. Well, what about a month? A lot of results, a lot of things to chat about. I've got my old regular Neil with me, and I've also got a new debutant, Kally, as well, to discuss the brilliant win yesterday against Brighton. Who would have thought roasted seagull would taste so nice on a Sunday? Different variation of Sunday roast day. So we'll tuck into that. And obviously, we'll look ahead to the big top of the table showdown on the weekend against our old rivals Liverpool. But before all of that, let's go. Welcome to the show, Neil. How you doing? It's been a while. How's your back faring up?
I'm all right. It's been a while. Yeah, it feels like I've been in an age since I've been on. I think back is it's hit and miss, but I'm still alive. I'm still fit enough. Hopefully, just about to go to the games when I can. And it was good to be at the game the other day. So a good win. It was obviously nice to hook up with Kally on that day, and it was it was a good day out and. 3 points and top of the table. What can you want?
Great stuff, man. Good to see you as always. And I've also got another debutant. I'm happy to say I've got Kally with us. How are you, Kally? Great to have you on. How are you feeling? Not too nervous, like I said. I'm not that much of a taskmaster, So you came on time, which is which I'll say, which is good. But no, how are you? It's great to have you.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah, I think it's like, I've never done a podcast before, but it's nice to be on and give my opinion and just, talk about the game and everything that we love. I'm passionate about, about Arsenal and everything. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great to have you on. Great to have you here, Neil. Always appreciate your time because that's something we can never get back, is it really? So thanks very much. So we'll crack on. So it's been a few things have happened since the last show. We'll probably pick up from last weekend. So we had the disappointing result against Aston Villa, which had a lot of similarities to the other defeat in the league, which was obviously against Newcastle away from home again. Controversial officiating, which always seems to be the case with us. And then obviously that rolled into the PSV game, kind of the dead rubber, which we sort of, dealt with pretty well. Some of the guys that came in, Reece Nelson played well. Obviously, Eddie took his goal well. So a couple of good bits to take away from that. And not obviously after that, we had the results of the charge. Mikel Arteta's getting off for the charge and by the FA and the PGMOL. We'll touch on that a little bit more. And then obviously we rolled into the game yesterday against Brighton. I'll come to you first, Kally. I mean, it's funny because obviously we saw that Man City drop points because it's funny they've got their bogey side. Palace seemed to be a bit of a bogey side for them, especially at home for some reason. And we know over the last couple of seasons, Brighton have been a bogey side. We know what they did to us last season when they pretty much put the final nail in the coffin in our title aspirations last year. But what was your thoughts going into this game? Were you slightly nervous, about what was to come? Obviously, because of the style of the way Brighton play, or was you just confident that the fact that off the back of the PSV game, everyone was going to be coming in here fresh, whereas Brighton played a couple of days after in the Europa League? But what was your thoughts going into the game, and then obviously how we started that first half?
Yeah, I think you always kind of have the notions in the background in terms of how Brighton have played and how they are playing the previous games they have. I was kind of nervous for the game, I would say. I always wanted to hope for a win or a draw to get some points and obviously give it a go, because we know how good like Villa and Liverpool are playing. But yeah, I think I was nervous because I just did not want to lose. And obviously on the back of Man City dropping points, I thought, you know what, some of our big players have been rested. We need to go fresh. We need to give it all. I don't think we're playing, you know, as amazing as we were last season, but it was our chance to, you know, put our feet on there to say, you know what, we are Arsenal. We need to get some points going. We need to get our momentum going. We need to start strong. And I think, you know, seeing the game and how we started, I think we started really, really, really strong. And I was saying to the person next to me, I was like, I've not seen us start strong in a few games now. And I thought, you know what, I feel positive actually watching the first 5 minutes. I thought we could actually do some damage here. And I think how we control the game in the midfield, especially Odegaard, Rice and Kai Havertz, I thought, you know what, we could actually do a strong performance here. And if we keep that going, keep, you know, playing well, I think we could definitely score high on this. And obviously how the game went is that we missed some chances, some key chances. But I think we just played really well and really strong in the midfield as well. And that kind of got us where we were with the game as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think last season when we played them, even though we lost quite heavily, I think we kind of did the same. We really went after them in the first half of the game last season. Again, I think what happened was we had opportunities, but we just weren't putting them away. So it was almost like a carbon copy, because obviously we know, like Neil, that's how Brighton play. They like to. It's almost like a bit of chess or a little bit of chicken. You know, they try to tempt you on, and then they play around you. And it seems like Arteta is trying to do the same with David Raya, do the same thing. I mean, the amount of times he has he must have the ball in possession probably longer than, you know, a lot of other goalkeepers, because he holds onto the ball for so long. But I think, you know, as Kally was saying, I think we played like that last season as well against them, but we just got picked off and we just weren't clinical. But what was your thoughts? I mean, speaking of one of the main guys in the first half was Martinelli, your boy Martinelli. He looked like he was on fire again, but I just think his decision making again was a little bit, you know, off. You know, he almost seemed like he wanted to beat his man twice, and some of the balls he played. I mean, spinning it on a bit, his corners in the second half were amazing. We were just getting them on point every single time. But again, what was your thoughts on that first half, and were you worried it was like a continuation of the Villa game where we created so many big chances and we just didn't look like we were going to score?
I think firstly, Brighton are a very strong team and a very good unit. They really are. They're a tough team to break down. We know that they're all about possession football. They even eclipsed us in the possession. I had no idea until this morning. And I think it was 51-49 in their favour. And I was like, wow. Yeah. I mean, when we were watching it, I thought we had the lion's share of the possession, but they bossed it just by, even though it was a fraction, but they did. So we know what they're all about. We know we were just talking off air that they'd scored in the previous 41 games or whatever it was in the Prem, and it was going to be a tough ask. And kudos to their manager as well to come out and say post game, to say that he had not played a stronger team, and he feels that, you know, Arsenal are probably the team to beat and possible title winners. So fair play to him. It's a refreshing change to hear an opposition manager actually praise rather than sit there and berate and moan and groan at decisions or how bad their team had played. They just said, look, we lost to the better team at the end of the day. And I think that sums up how I felt the first half was going. I thought it was a very dominant, controlled passage of play from us. Kally mentioned Rice and Odegaard. They were standout. I mean, Odegaard, I feel, hasn't been at his best of late, and he's picked himself up again. He's just risen from the fire again, and he was outstanding. Some of the passing and the movement he was doing was just, his vision was exceptional. Some of those passes, particularly that one early on to Saka, which unfortunately didn't lead to. I think that's the one that Martinelli ballooned over, I believe, if I remember that correctly. And then he did another passage of play later on where I mean, everything that was good that was happening, which could have led to a goal, he was involved in. And of course, he was involved in the one that Kai Havertz scored later on in the second half. So he was great. Rice and his interceptions, and he's a 6 and an 8 built into one for me. He's doing everything that a 6 should do, and then he's there what Xhaka of the last season was doing. You know, he's bombing up the field and being there at the goal mouth. You know, he had a chance, didn't he? I think That I don't know if that's the one that went on the side of the net, or saved. I can't recall. But them two were great. But I think more importantly than all of that, and despite the failings of our finishing, which was the disappointing thing, and it was a cause for concern. So I don't get me wrong. I was feeling happy at seeing us put on a good display, but I was also at the same time concerned that why are we not taking our chances? Some of the times when Martinelli, speak about Martinelli and his finishing, and maybe he's maybe overthinking things, if you like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt that sometimes he didn't have much of how could you say of other players moving forward like we tend to be used to, and there wasn't anyone there for him to pass to or to play the ball to. So he was almost isolated at times. I mean, I know he's fast and that's tricky, but I don't know why the other players weren't moving forward. And we know that recently we've become brilliant at that. That's why we've got so many different goal scorers all the time. But the defense is so amazing at the moment as well. That they're arguably the best defense in the league, and you can't. Despite, I think they played a little bit of an unsung hero in the game, but I think Gabriel and Saliba, the way they nullified Ferguson was unbelievable. Everyone's going about, Ferguson, he didn't play well. No. It's not that Ferguson didn't play well. You had two giants nullifying everything he tried to do, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it was a great all-round performance in the first half. The only thing missing was the finishing. It was a bit of a concern, but it was still 0-0, and a 0-0, there's always a chance. So I was kind of 50-50 about it, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Odegaard, it was his birthday yesterday, wasn't it? And he definitely wanted a goal. I think he had 5 shots, 5 attempts, and shame, he didn't pick up a couple more assists, because I think it was the same against Villa. He was obviously should have had a couple of goals against Villa. He had some big chances there, but it was. I think we said before, where Arteta seems to have relinquished a little bit of the attacking verve that we had last season. It's more about control now, and controlling games and suffocating. We've got the fewest shots on goal against us in the league. We've got the best defence in the league. All these sort of stats, which you've been following Arsenal as long as we have, to have a defence strong as we have, compared to some of the clown shows we've seen with Mustafi and Socrates. I don't know why I said those games. I'm just getting cold sweats again thinking about all that again. But yeah, So Kally, we go in at half time 0-0. Obviously, there's a bit of a frustration. I think by then we had like 15 shots on goal. We ended up with 26, I think, in the end, which is insane. But then we start second half again on the front foot, and it looks like it seems like we have this happy knack of doing that in especially at the Emirates. And obviously, it's a bit of an old school Arsenal route, which is the set piece, the old Steve Bold, Tony Adams stuff. But this time it was a Brighton player that did the flick on, which left it to Jesus to score. Obviously he's had a little bit of flack about what he said in that interview, saying about he's not about scoring goals and stuff. But how vital, is he to the whole, the whole front three, the way the front four, I should say, how we operate. And I say front five now because obviously the man who scored at the end, but how vital is it that he remains fit, for us to do something really special this season?
I think he definitely needs to stay fit. I think given, what happened last year in terms of the World Cup and we lost that flexibility and versatility up front, I think the good thing about him is that he's got so much flair in terms of at the front, and he can just literally turn a player, pass it to someone, score a good goal. And he just puts happiness when he's on the ball, and he just literally passes it to players. And I think going on from what Neil said is that what we're finding difficult up front is that there's a lot of players on our wingers. So we have to find a plan B or a plan C to kind of move about. And I think this is why we don't have a prolific goal striker, because our play comes from everywhere. Yeah. And I think going against Brighton, the reason why they played so well is because a lot of players play behind the ball and then they'll go on the counter attack. And you could see Saka and Martinelli, they were trying to get passes going, but everyone was behind the ball because there was nowhere to kind of go. But I think with Jesus, he just gives another dimension. He might not play up front, but he gives really good creativity. And you'll see that when Kai plays as well, how they link up and how everyone links up with the ball. And I'd say, you know, those front 4 or 5 haven't played that many games together, but when they do play and they get that time over together, it's nice to see that. And obviously it was a massive relief when Jesus scored as well, because we just needed that goal. You know, we were driving forward to attack and we just needed that, and that was just the break that we needed. Yeah,
do you think Jesus, I mean, there's talk about obviously him not being the out-and-out striker that we need, but do you think, you know, in the long run, if we do get a number 9, if we do get a target man, do you think he's going to just be able to still contribute by being the man to maybe play instead of Martinelli or play instead of Saka and still have that quality output? You know, if one of those two are kind of rested, you know, because I'm thinking everyone's kind of thinking, well, if you get a Tony, let's say, for example, you know, then that means Jesus is going to be out the side. Well, not necessarily. He still can feature. You can just make us a little bit stronger depth-wise, because then you can take Saka out and you can have Jesus doing what he did. We've got to remember, one of his best games was against Man City when he played on the right, when we beat them 1-0. But what do you think about that, Kally? Do you think he's, you know, if we do get, obviously, would you want us to get that target man, you know, and still obviously use him, you know, left or right, or rotate him with whoever that person will be?
I think we do. If he's prone to injury, or if he's, you know, if he goes on to internationals or does something and gets injured there, I think we need someone. We do need someone up front to kind of rotate the wingers quite a bit as well. But I think that's the key to anything. I think now that we're kind of doing well in the Premier League, we've got Champions League, we've got, you know, FA Cup or the League Cup, we need rotation and we need strong key players in all of those, because again, as you say, if you get injury, we're kind of screwed. Look at our left back situation at the moment with Tomiyasu out and Timber out, and I think we've got some really big games coming up. And you know, as much as we can rely on Zinni, you still need that rotation to kind of be strong and be one of those teams that are setting the standards as well. So I think, as much as I love Jesus, I still think you probably need someone up there that is a prolific goal scorer that can stay up front and you can pass that ball, those long balls that we haven't really played because we are quite, you know, on the floor ball, or unless it's set pieces, you have someone there. It's hard to say. I think at the moment what he does in the team is great, but we can always improve in different areas.
Yeah. I asked you that question because I know what Neil would have said. He would say, just put Martinelli up front and then have, don't need to get a number 9. We've already got him, you know, because there were those times where in the second half where the balls were just rolling across the 6-yard box. There's no one there to tap it in, you know, and there were times where you just think, oh, if Martinelli was just, you know, there off the shoulder, you know, and he would have darted in and just would have made the game a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, we you know, after we get the goal, Neil, we look in control a bit. You know, we're a little bit more in control. We create a lot more chances, and then we seem to sort of overplay it. I think Jesus starts to do a couple of party pieces. You know, he starts balancing the ball on his head and things like that. And he's like, "We're 1-0 up, mate. We're you know, we're not 3 or 4-0 up." And then they have their chance. With Gross, and then obviously I think Declan Rice has that run which you mentioned earlier, that amazing run which, you know, if he squares it to Eddie, you know, in the 6-yard. It's funny, all the balls across the box in the 6-yard box. You're thinking, oh, if Eddie's there, there's a tap in. When he is there, he doesn't get any more. But then yeah, and then obviously we score the clincher. Kai Havertz. Now, you know, I've been on the show. I've been obviously purely Arsenal one, and said, look, I don't get the Kai Havertz project or experiment or whatever it is Arteta's doing. And yeah, listen, you know, this is me holding my hands up now, because Arteta's obviously seen something and worked on something, and we've seen it over the last 3 or 4 games. He's scored four Premier League goals now, 5 in total. The finish, some people say it was a good finish. Some people say he may have tried to lift it and he caught it wrong. But the fact of the matter is, it's in the back of the net. Who cares? but I think, as Kally said earlier, that midfield and the five, haven't played that much together, and it looks like we're getting a little sort of bit of chemistry there. But what was your thoughts on his performance? Because I think his performance has gone a little bit under the radar. Obviously, Rice was outstanding. Odegaard was outstanding. I thought Jesus was amazing. Ran his socks off. But what was your thoughts on Kai Havertz and just the reception again when he got the goal? He looked so happy. I can't remember him scoring goals for Chelsea, and obviously, he didn't want him scoring goals for Chelsea. But I don't remember him having a massive smile on his face like he had when he scored for us the other day. But what's your thoughts on just his progression, Neil, and how he's blossoming into this, great sort of asset to the team?
Well, firstly, I know you're a man of connections, and the first thing you need to do, Michael, is speak to Kai, tell him no more knee slides because he can't do it. He's not very graceful at doing the knee. We don't want him injuring his knees over a celebration, and then we've lost that option. So please make sure you speak to him, all right, and scold him for that. But yeah, no, I couldn't be happier for him. First and foremost, I think he's taken a lot of pelters. We've got those so-called fans in our fan base that are very abusive, quite disgusting stuff that he has to put up with, like a lot of our players do if they make one mistake, which is ridiculous. Like you, Michael, I was the same. I didn't know what his role was. I didn't know what his purpose in the club was. Had no idea. All I was saying though was the guy needs to probably bed himself in a little bit better, in the sense that don't throw him into the lion's den straight away, just despite the price tag. Maybe it'd be better if he comes on as a substitute initially, and then he can grow into the game a bit more. But Arteta, who am I to question the boss? He's seen it again, hasn't he? He's seen something in a player, and maybe that's why they have paid the 65 mil for him. And I think the price tags is something that players shouldn't be guilty of. It's not their fault that they don't determine the price tag, and I feel sorry for all the players that have to have that pressure on them. We had it with Pepe as well, I guess, to a certain extent. I think it's wrong. I think just let them play, and don't keep going on about how much they cost, what not. But I just feel that he's grown, especially in the last few games. I think remember he scored that penalty, and we thought, wow, this could give him the world of confidence and the boost. And unfortunately, it didn't quite work. But then after that, I think it was his first. I think it was an open play goal or a set piece. I can't remember his first goal, which wasn't the penalty. After that, I don't recall it. But that was the one that seemed to spur him. And I think he has played. He's had a couple of good games. Ironically, against Man City, the Community Shield, where he played in the number 9. He had, again, in the game that we played them against, I think he came on as a number 9, didn't he, as a substitute? And I think all of those little pieces of the puzzle have started building his confidence in completing the picture for him. And yesterday, it wasn't just about what he was doing in an attacking sense. I recall when I was watching the highlights of Match of the Day, there were a couple of times where he's back in the defence, and he's actually intercepted a ball, and he comes across as he's quite slow in his decision making, but I think he's quite thoughtful with it. So he's not one of these is lightning quick. Like one touch, the ball comes to his feet, it's already away and progressing. But what he does do, he progresses it with thought for me, and he did that a couple of times, which also led to a nice move of play. We had several moments of that. So many times where Odegaard, Zinchenko, even Martinelli, they were all involved in nice passages of play. Unfortunately, we didn't finish. But Kai was also quite involved in all of that. And there's also been comparisons with him and Ozil. I think, look, that he might come across again. He's very languid and he looks a little bit laid back. I don't think so. I think what Kai offers is he's a very strong guy. He could also become a target man for me, almost similar to what Giroud used to do. He's quite big and strong. On a one-to-one, I'm sure he can handle most of the opposition because of his strength and his height. He might not be the fastest, but what he can do is he can hold the ball. He can, and I think his off-the-ball move play is very good as well. And I think we may have found our left eight in him. I think that's a possibility. I mean, there was comparisons made to Xhaka, wasn't there? Xhaka scored 7, 2 of them in the last game all season. He's already on 4 or 5. So he's a couple of goals behind Xhaka already, and we're not even halfway through the season. So end of the day, I think it's all about confidence. He said it himself in the interview that he hasn't had the best couple of months, but he says football's a very fast game in terms of time, and sometimes all of a sudden you'll be playing 2 or 3 games in a week, and he's going to get the opportunity, and he just says, I hope I can continue in this vein, vein of form, of good form. And I just like the way he speaks. I think we've got a great player in Kai now. I think he's going to be integral going forward for the rest of the season and beyond. And I believe that Arteta may have struck gold with all of his signings in the summer. Everyone was talking to Timber. We knew what he was going to be about. Unfortunately, he got injured before he started. Yeah. Rice is just beyond all expectation. We knew what we were going to get. But I think he's even risen above that. And I did say we should mention price tags, but I think we've got him cheap. And then you've got Ray. Obviously, I'm not concluding because he's at the moment he's still officially a loanee, we haven't bought him as such. But then we've got Kai, and I think he's going to do wonders for us. So I'm very, very pleased for him. Very pleased.
Yeah. I think Mark, who we know, Neil. I think he tweeted about Rice. I think the 100 million we paid for him was a deposit. I think we've got to pay the rest over the next couple of years because he's absolutely ridiculous. He, as you said, spot on. He is a 6 and an 8, and it's been a while since we've had one of those. We all remember who we had last time, who was like that, who was on the edge of the box defending, and all of a sudden you just stride, open up those long legs of his, and he'd be gone. And he'll either smash it into the top corner or he slide it through to Henry or Perez, whatever, and the game was over. And he's not as elegant as Vieira, but in terms of his stride, but he's got that power. And it's like he's been there for years, which is a scary thing.
Sorry to interrupt. I think when it's good that you compared the comparison with Vieira. I think where he lacks in that kind of elegance, the way Vieira used to move, but what Vieira had, I think Vieira had a bit of a temper on him, and whereas Rice, I think he's got controlled aggression, and that's not to kind of put the negative on Vieira. Vieira, I think, is one of my favourite all-time players. He's just an exceptional midfielder, an exceptional player altogether. But I think what Rice has is a very controlled aggression. Every time I see him go in for anything, it's almost as like it looks reckless, but it isn't. It's always so spot on. And the way he can intercept and break up play is just unreal. It's just an incredible player.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. We'll touch on Arteta and the eventful week he's had, Kally. Obviously, taking on the FA and the PGMOL, and obviously them getting exposed really in terms of their agenda and narrative, which bred from the likes of Gary Neville and Richard Keys, who always seem to have an issue with him last season or the way he acted on the touchline. And basically at the start of the season, there's a clip where it says Gary Neville has kind of said, the reason they brought in this touchline thing where only one coach can be there is because of the likes of Arteta. They want to sort of nip his influence in the bud. And we've seen since then other managers come out and sort of say the same thing what Arteta said after Newcastle, specifically Roy Hodgson. It's funny, everyone's giving him a pat on the back when he's pretty much said the same thing as Arteta, but maybe in a different kind of way. But no one sort of said, well, he should be charged because he's saying the same thing. But what do you think? Obviously with that yellow card again he got yesterday, which was just ridiculous, and you saw on his face, and you guys were there. So I'll imagine it was pretty hot at that time. How does he use this? Because we know Arteta, obviously you've seen the documentary, All or Nothing documentary, where he is quite petty. He does use things that someone had said against him or the team before. He's like me, because I'll do exactly the same thing. I think we all would. If we were in a situation, if someone's had a bit of a chip at us or, been disrespectful, I'll put that up in the dressing room and I'll show that again, and say, look, and he did that, and it was brilliant to see. But does he, a little bit like, maybe different example, but Everton, you look at Everton and the points, look at how they've reacted since they got the points deducted. They feel victimized, they feel like they're being, treated, really in a completely different way compared to another team that's got a lot more charges. Do you think Arteta will maybe use this for himself and the players who obviously love him and run through brick walls for him, will use that as fuel now? Because they can see it. You know, they're not getting, the decisions aren't going our way. We're getting goals disallowed for, you know, phantom reasons. You know, we're getting goals disallowed, goals given against us when they shouldn't been, when there's 3 or 4 instances. But what do you think, you know, will happen going forward, Kally? Do you think he's still got a target on his back? And if so, does he just, you know, use that fire, you know, to fight against it, or what do you think he should do, and how, you know, us as fans, you know, obviously we're behind him, but what do you think? How do you think this will play out?
It's difficult to say. I think it was such a ridiculous decision. I think seeing, you know, Saka get put down, like pulled down so many times, and not getting any decisions go against, you just think that there is an agenda against us. But then you think actually there are other teams that have decisions against them, and is it a continuous thing? I think the only thing we're screaming out for is consistency, whether it's VAR, whether it's referees. Take the bias out and just treat everyone how it should be. Okay, if you don't see something, use your, you know, the video assistant referees to say, okay, this is what's happened, take the time. But it's just ridiculous what's happened. I mean, his quote that he said that he was waving at Martinelli, maybe it was waving at Martinelli, no one knows why he got a yellow card for. But oh yeah, it's just, but this is what happened and has cost us the last year, the last season, the season before. It's just referee decisions going against us. And, you know, we're all annoyed because we just want to enjoy the game. We just want what's fair. We want the goals. We want the points, because at the end of the day, the fans pay good money. The players are putting their all. We're all passionate. That's what Arteta is. He's passionate. He's fiery. He's got that Spanish personality that, you know, you want to do well for your team because you train day in, day out to get those results. And it's so demoralising and frustrating that you have referees that don't get any consequences when these go wrong. So with the whole Newcastle thing, that, you know, they saw Arteta's side, it's just like that it made no difference because it's happened again yesterday. But it's just like where you kind of meet in the middle. And I think going forward, it's what Arteta said, we have to do something together where the referees, the managers, the Premier League get together and make a difference. Because if it keeps getting frustrating, we're not going to have Arteta on the pitch side at this rate. No,
I think you're right. I think, I mean, we forget the yellow card he got against Luton, celebrating, you know, a 97th minute goal. And what did he do? You know, I didn't see what he did. He didn't knee slide on the pitch. He didn't run across the pitch, which other managers have done last couple of weeks, and nothing's happened. And no one said anything about that. You know, he didn't pull his hamstring when he celebrated like Klopp did last season, and, you know, went right into the face of the fourth official, and nothing happened there. You know, do you know what I mean? It's you're right. It's there. The evidence is there. It's right there, so everyone to see that we are treated differently. We are ref differently. That's a fact. You know that you know, and regardless of that, like you said, we just want consistency, don't we?
And we play exciting football. Like that Luton game, I don't get how we got a yellow card. That last minute goal by Declan Rice was unbelievable. I think it was even more passionate than Reece Nelson's goal at Bournemouth. Like, you feel the fight, you feel that adrenaline go in you, and you just lose it. But why are we getting punished for being so passionate for our teams? Like, he is a fan as well as a manager for his players, and he sees them day in, day out. To get those all-important 3 points at Luton and you get a yellow card, you're just taking away the fun from the game. Yeah,
it's massive. It's they've created a problem that wasn't there. You know, the PGMOL. It was only one person that, you know, because it was us Arsenal, and because we were doing well and being successful, and it looked like there was a change, and didn't like what they were seeing. So we've got to try and nip it in the bud. And who's the creator of all of this? And it's Arteta. And let's try and nip it in the bud. And they created a situation which they focus on him, but it's focusing on other managers. Other managers don't like it. You know, Hodgson was saying you've got coaches who work with him, and they can't even get instruction across to their players. You know, what's wrong with someone going over and talking to a player? You know, oh, you've got to sit down. You know, shut up. You know, you're not allowed to stand up. You know, it's like They're not abusing anybody. They're not abusing the fourth official. They're just doing their job. But these referees or whatever, they're stopping people from doing their job, Neil. It's just crazy. And I think, you know, as Kally said, I think he'll get something will happen. He'll get suspended again. He'll get another a couple of yellow cards because he's got a target on his back now, isn't he? He's shown them up a bit. He's embarrassed them. And that ruling, which basically said they've gone after him because of his profile. You know, they've gone after him because of his profile and the club he's at. You know, someone in League Two could have done exactly the same thing. They wouldn't bother. Do you think as well? You know, Kally, we just got to kind of maybe use this as a like extra bit of energy, because you've said it. How many times have you said it? We play against two teams, we play against 12, you know, 13, 14 against 11, you know, because of the referee, you know, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, do you think, you know, it's just going to be, we're going to be talking about, you know, in a couple of months, a couple of games time, another contentious decision, you know, which will go against us compared to the likes of City and Newcastle, who don't seem to, funnily enough, don't seem to get many decisions against them at the moment for some reason. I don't know what the correlation is between those two teams, but yeah. So yeah, what do you think?
Don't get me started on Newcastle and Man City, please, because you'll probably have to restart this podcast. And yeah, we don't want to do that. I am so livid with it. I remember Jack had asked me if I was up to doing the game after the pod after the Aston Villa game. So I can't do it. I'm just so angry. I can't deal with it. And it's always taken me about 24 hours to get over something. I just could not get over that decision. You know, we'd already had it at Newcastle, then we had it at Villa, and you can't. Kally summed it up perfectly. He's passionate. He's like the fans. You score a last-minute winner like you did against Luton, like you did against Bournemouth. How could you just expect the manager to stand still? I mean, obviously the players would love. We're all human beings at the end of the day. The players themselves would look at the manager and see his elation. It's like, we've done that for you as well, manager. It's not just about him managing a team of players to get the best out of them, for them to be successful, to appease the fans that support the club all, you know, around the world. They're also doing it for him because it shows that the players can recognise from him the good work that he's doing as well. So it's a two-way thing, a three-way thing, a four-way thing, however you want to look at it. And there's nothing wrong with passion. I've always loved it. I've always loved it in all sports, where the players get really excited if they score, you know, that they win a great duel in tennis or whatever it might be, whether it's badminton, tennis, football, snooker, even darts, wherever. I just love that passion in players and opponents and competitors. And to kind of stifle that and say that's not allowed, it's just ridiculous. You know, I remember Arteta came, one of the interviews where he was so irate, and he said it's hard enough to compete in this Premiership as it is. Even if it's a level playing field, it's hard enough, you know, to get 3 points. He said, you don't know how difficult it is, the work that we put in to get that. Then on that, we've got to compete against bad refereeing decisions and officiating. And then on top of that, you get scolded for maybe celebrating a goal. I mean, they are destroying football as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to get any better. Look, you're saying, you know, in a couple of months' time, it'll happen again. I expect it to happen every match. That's how cynical I've become. And it's wrong for me as a fan to feel that every game that we either go to or we watch on TV or watch in a pub or wherever it is, that potentially the referee's going to steal the headlines. It's ridiculous. And like Kally said, something has to be done. Something, you know, I think they've got to band together, even create a union. I don't know what, they'll probably get banned for doing that. But they've got to produce some way, put a table in a conference room, sit down and work this out. It's just not on anymore. And it's just ruining the game for me. And I am completely backing the manager 100%. I don't think Arteta is doing anything wrong, and kudos and well done for him speaking out. Yeah, he probably won't do it again because he knows he's going to get trouble. But I can expect another ban coming from him, because they're going to just want him make one little tiny error, bang, yellow card, off you go. And can I just quickly say before I finish, it's fine margins, isn't it, with these bad yellow card and card decisions. We were getting hammered yesterday, absolutely hammered, nothing. Play on, nothing, no cautions, nothing. Maybe a talking to, and that was it. Then one incident. I don't even know what Ben White got a yellow card for. One incident. Straight away, the yellow card comes out. His first offence, whatever it is. And you think about that on its day, if it just stays at yellow, might not have a major or significant impact. Okay. But you think about someone like Kai Havertz, he's one card away from a ban. Say he does something which isn't really warranted any kind of yellow card or any kind of beration. He gets that yellow, he's banned for a game. That game that he's banned for could be a significant game where he could have made an impact. He's already won us points. So it's so much, it's about fine margins, and I'm sick of it. I want there to be a level playing field. It's killing the game for me.
Sad that it's always going to be that way now, I think. And sadly, I can't see it changing. As long as there's no transparency, I've said it before, like there's no transparency. They've got this ref up program, which Michael Owen does with Hardweb, which is just nonsense. And they have this ref watch thing they do on Sky Sports News, which, you know, an old referee on there who's just saying everything to back up his mates. There's nothing. It's just a waste of time, basically. And when these refs, I think they had a chance to implement AI semi-automated offside in the Premier League, and they said no, they didn't want to do that. And obviously that's just the tip of the iceberg. But then, like you said, when you've got teams going through the back of Saka and not getting a yellow card, and then Arteta getting a yellow card, which is the same sort of punishment for waving his hands about, or you know, how is that, you know, level in severity? I just think they need to change. People talk about, you know, orange card and sin bins, whatever. I think something needs to change, because, you know, some going through the back of someone isn't the same as dissent, is it? You know, and in certain cases, you both can get a yellow card for that, or you can both get a red card for that, as we saw with Man United yesterday. So I think the whole system, it's so antiquated. It's just an old boys network. It just needs to move with the times. You look at other sports like basketball. There's different punishments to different type of fouls that you can do. There's a team punishment, and then there's an individual one, and things like that. You know, just throwing it out there because, you know, I like to have mad ideas. But with you know, how many times have we seen Saka get kicked up in the air by different players? And you could have it like, you know, if there's a rotational fouling, the third person that fouls him, or the fourth person that fouls him, let's say, for example, whoever it is, the captain will get the yellow card. Doesn't matter if he's not involved in it, but then that just has some sort of responsibility of accountability of, look, you know what, we need to play within the rules here and stop, and, you know, just something like that. Just because you look at it in rugby, how much the focus is on the captain there. You know, he gets warned of you know, the behaviour of his other team, and they try to implement that in football, but it doesn't work. But I think they need to change the fouling, the way they do it, the way they punish people for fouls and dissent and stuff like that. You can't say a leg breaker is the same as a, you know, as a manager celebrating a goal or something like that. That's just crazy. That doesn't make any sense. But sorry, Kally. When it gets into referees and PGMO, well, I could talk for hours about how useless they are. So yeah, so a great performance. You know, we finished off the game. Great performance. De Zerbi, we've got to mention the quote from De Zerbi, who said he's not had a team suffer like that in all his time, which is a massive statement considering what he's done to certain teams and what Brighton have done to certain teams, and to us, as we know. Even the games that we've beaten them, they've been pretty hairy ones as well. I think the 4-2 last season, we were in control in that game, and then they came back at us twice and we ended up winning it. But that was nice to hear, again, as Neil said earlier, that managers actually come out and said that and given us some praise. So before we move on to Liverpool, Kally, obviously the Champions League draw was made today, and obviously City, Man City seem to have got the Man United privilege of getting the weaker team in the draw for next round. They got Copenhagen, but we got Porto. What are your first initial thoughts on that? Because obviously we've had a few run-ins with them in the past. It's funny, we get back to the Champions League, we play Lens, who we played first time round, and then now we've got Porto, a team that we've played a few times as well. So what are your thoughts, or what are your initial thoughts on that and our chances of navigating that last 16 game?
I'm feeling quite positive and hopeful, to be honest. I think I'm glad it's not Bayern Munich. I'm glad it's not any of the other big teams. But I think, you know, the way that we've been playing in the Champions League, I think we've got a decent game against Porto. Obviously, it's a away leg first and then at home advantage on the second leg. I think if we've got our players, if we've got Timber back, if we've got most of our players back, I think we can give it a real good go. I think the players are definitely up for the Champions League more than anything. And the atmosphere is really good for Champions League this season too. So I think we could give it a good go for Porto.
Yeah, me too. I think with Dave, they're I think they're third on the table at the moment, and yeah, I just think if we can sort out the first leg and make sure that we're in a good position, we should be fine. Because as you said, you know, you hit the nail on the head there. Possibility that we could have Timber back, which would be pretty amazing, and Party as well. If he's not out partying, you know, like he likes to do after the African Nations Cup, he might go AWOL. And who knows, you may have one or two new faces, maybe a couple of transfers that could come through the door, makes us a little bit more, make the squad a little bit deeper. You confident as well, Neil, for that? I mean, and I sent you that meme about Havertz and all the different things that he's done, and it basically is saying that everything's replicated before, so it's going to work out that he's going to end up winning us the Champions League, which would be amazing. But what are your thoughts, Neil, on that draw?
That was crazy what you said. That is unbelievable, isn't it? The parallels is freaky. It really is. But okay, we shouldn't be superstitious. As far as I'm concerned, we're through. You know me, I'm positive. I think the only thing that will stop us is our own complacency. That's it. If we're complacent, we don't take it seriously. If we think, oh, Porto's not a strong team, then we've had it. I also like the fact that we're playing them away first. I actually prefer it that way. I think we go there if we can get something out of that, even if it's a draw, and because away goals don't count anymore, do they? If I'm right. So even if it's 2-2 or it's 1-1 or 3-3, we get something from that. I think we've got enough about us to finish the job off at home. For me, I think, as Kally said, it could have been a lot worse. I know we were always unlucky in the Champions League. That massive run we had, that stretcher we had with Wenger or under Wenger, where we were always unlucky to pretty much every season. Either it's Barcelona, either it's Bayern Munich, or something like that. Really tough teams. And even then, I used to always say, but look, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. It doesn't really matter when you play them. But I think if you do get on paper a weaker team beforehand, at least you get more of a percentage of a chance to progress and get closer to that finishing post. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great draw. Obviously, the other teams that you mentioned, and one of them's obviously got some influence, gets the most probably easiest tie ball. But let's put it this way: in this competition at this stage, there is no such thing as an easy game. They're all tough. So Arsenal just got to keep their wits about them. Hopefully, as Kally said, we've got some players back, some new faces possibly, and we can do the job. I'm quite confident.
But all we've got to do, all we've got to do is if we control the game, start well, control it in the midfield, we can go through. I think that's how we just need to. I don't think we've got out of second gear just yet, but I think maybe in February, around that time when the Champions League is back, we've got some players, we've got momentum going. I think we can approach that really well.
Yeah, I think you said before as well, just the number of games that the front five haven't really played together as yet, especially the front three, obviously Jesus, Martinelli and Saka, who, you know, they haven't really, you know, clicked yet. You know, they did against Lens, you know, when we beat them, was it 6-0? And but yeah, I think touch wood that we get a few players back fit, get maybe one or two bodies in, and everyone else can stay fit, and we'll be all right. I'm still trying to work out. I don't know who. I don't think they've announced who Tottenham have got in the next round. All Man United, all Newcastle. So that's interesting. Maybe have to wait and see next season, boys. But so I've got to get a dig in as well. You'll get used to this, Kally. I have to get a dig into those Muppets. A show. Unfortunately, that's me. I'm just petty like Arteta. So
it's fine. I do the same to United fans. It's great.
Oh, good stuff. So a big one on at the weekend. Liverpool, big showdown at Anfield. For me, what happened last year, Neil, the way that still keeps me up at night. The way we were in control, and then obviously that flashpoint with Xhaka and Trent, which is funny because you were talking about Rice having that control, and you kind of wonder if Rice was in that situation, would maybe that wouldn't have happened, and who knows, sliding doors moment. But what's your thoughts, Neil, on that? And we go there. They have a big League Cup game against West Ham. And I'm sure West Ham are turning into a little bit of a cup team at the moment. They normally raise their game, so I imagine that they're going to go down there and maybe make it a little bit difficult and go fairly strong, which means Liverpool may have to get a few of their big players out, and then obviously we have a nice sort of week to prepare for that one. So what are your thoughts on how that's going to play out? Because I'm thinking I've already prepared myself that we're going to be talking about another controversial decision or another decision which has gone their way, and we're going to be spitting feathers again. But what's your thoughts, man?
Well, I think with that, it's given we're going to have to expect to play against 12. So that's right from the get-go. So we've got to play even better than we might have ordinarily up there. Anfield is always difficult. I think a vast majority of Arsenal fans that have watched Arsenal, whether it's short-term, long-term, for many years, or just recently, I think a lot of the majority would say a point at Anfield isn't always is a good result. It's a great result. I can never do draw predictions. I just can't. I always want to see a win. But I think if we don't rile up the crowd like we did last season, if we don't rile up the manager like we did the season before, and we can control the game, pretty much what Kally said about the Porto game, if we control it, especially in the midfield, I think on paper we've got more than enough to beat that team. I mean, Jack was telling me earlier today, he was saying that the games that he's watched Liverpool, it's like they're not finishing. We're accusing us or having a go at ourselves at not being great at finishing the last, a good move, or the final ball isn't always great, or it should be better, should be maybe more thought out. But Liverpool also doing the same thing, guilty of the same thing. I think if we can just control defensively, I've got no worries. I think we're great there. I think having Rice is going to make a massive difference to what we had last season. It's just about controlling ourselves and not getting involved and not playing to them and not playing to the crowd. And if we can do that, I think we've got a really good chance. So I'll be happy with a draw. Don't get me wrong. A point will be great, but a win is always better. Yeah. If you were to ask me a score prediction, I'd probably go 2-1. But I think we can do it. But it depends on the refereeing, the officiating, and if we get the crowd riled up for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, this is going to be, I totally agree. It's going to be a massive test in terms of Arteta's philosophy of control, because we kind of did that to a certain extent when we played Seville away. That was the atmosphere was rocking. You couldn't even hear the Champions League anthem when it was being played, because those fans were just going for it, and played really well there, and we kind of quieted that down. We didn't turn up really that well against Newcastle, which kind of played into the situation that we had. So we didn't really control the game that well. Kind of had a measure of control in the Villa game, but we just couldn't finish. We missed a lot of chances. So do you agree with Neil, Kally, that's where it's going to boil down to? Because I personally think, I think our midfield is so superior to theirs. They haven't got they've got the Japanese guy Endo, who's meant to be the defensive midfielder, but he's not. He was like a third or fourth, fifth choice for them to get in, because they tried to go for obviously Caicedo and what have you. I think personally in midfield we'll have too much for them. But do you agree with Neil? Like, it's going to be about just controlling our emotions, controlling the game, quieting the crowd, and just being clinical at the other end.
I think it's more about clinical. I think after watching us yesterday and watching the Liverpool United game, I think we can do them. But it all just depends on the day and just how each other play. And I think because it's still seen as a massive game, I think it's going to be attacking more than anything. I think our defence will be solid, but I think it's going to be end-to-end attack, because even though it was a boring game between Liverpool and United yesterday, Liverpool did have chances, but they didn't take them. And I think if we can capitalise on that, on the attack, I think we can do them. Also, I don't want Villa going top for Christmas, so we have to win. But yeah, it's all about starting strong, as we did like last season. Starting strong, don't go up to the crowd. Make sure our away fans are really loud and everyone's supporting. I think as long as our front, whoever's up front, on the sides are just attacking and taking their chances, I think we can capitalise on that. Yeah,
I think Rice is going to be the difference, as Neil said. I think for Brighton, I think he's going to be the difference in that game, because again, he can do the two roles, and all of a sudden he can just burst through and just obviously turn a counter attack into a devastating one. And I think he'll go with pretty much the same team that played against Brighton. I can't see any changes there. It'll pretty much be the team that started, which is this one, and it's just going to be a case. It's a shame the bench isn't looking as strong as it had been earlier, but you still got Trossard on the bench, who obviously scored a hat-trick at Anfield last season. So he may have something a part to play. Maybe we know he did that against Chelsea when he came on as well, didn't he? Towards the end. So interesting. Let's hope we can finish top of the table at Christmas. 2 seasons in a row. That'd be quite an achievement. And it's gonna be crazy that Villa are most likely going to be top by the time that game kicks off, because they're playing on Friday night, aren't they? And mental. How the hell did that happen? But
good luck to it. Good luck to Unai. I'm any ill feeling towards him, and good luck to the man. As long as it's not against us, I wish him all the best. And let's hope on the weekend it's not the referee that's making the headlines, and we're talking about good goals that we score rather than bad officiating. Yeah,
totally agree, Neil. But if you look at the history, the record of the way things are this season in big games, not even our games, big games. I think every big game against the top teams, the referee has dropped one. You look at the Liverpool, obviously Tottenham one. You look at the Man City Chelsea one, where it was 3-3. You had the Man City Tottenham one where the referee didn't, he stopped the advantage when Grealish was through. You look at the one yesterday where he sent off Dalot for 2 yellow. Every big game, the referee has had something to do. So that doesn't bode well for the weekend, really. They're going for a full set, but no, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll put on a performance like we did yesterday, and we did the first half last year, or in March, whenever it was, and do the business. We'll be back maybe for a quick impromptu show after the Liverpool game, because obviously the next day after that's going to be Christmas Eve, and kids are going to be going mental, and I'm going to be having loads of stuff to do, all that madness. But we'll try, if we get a great result or whatever, we'll try and get something out. And the next show will probably be in the new year, after we've had a bit of a break. Kally, thanks so much for your time. You've been a brilliant debut. You're definitely part of the squad. If you want, I'll get the contract signed up. Neil will you take Neil's bank details, and he'll be paying you the subs and everything.
Cheers, Michael.
That's fine. Yeah, no worries, Neil. And I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and love to have you back on. When time permits. Obviously, I know you're busy and everything. So, but thanks very much for coming on. Brilliant stuff, Neil. Thank you so much as well for your time as well, man. I know you're a busy man as well, and obviously hope your back gets better.
Thank you.
Over the next couple of days, so you can enjoy the holidays a bit, and obviously see you soon. So, shame I couldn't see you against Wolves. I really wanted to see you.
Yeah,
you guys. Nightmare getting back to
It was horrible that day. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's mental. But hopefully, in the new year, we can maybe do something and see what happens. Meet up at a game. But no, thanks very much. Thanks for watching. This will be obviously on the usual platforms on Spotify, Acast, Anchor. Obviously, hopefully you're watching this on YouTube. If you are, like and subscribe and share it to your good-minded football fans or good-minded gooners. And yeah, we hopefully will be back after a very impressive performance against Liverpool. Finish the Christmas top of the table, and then obviously look ahead to West Ham. So thanks, Kally. Thanks, Neil. If we aren't back for that period, obviously wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and hopefully don't drink too much and eat too much. I've done that already, so I don't have to do any more.
Oh, Michael, quickly, just a quick mention to Russell Hargreaves.
Yep. Sorry?
Russell Hargreaves, the guy who passed away, unfortunately. The guy that passed away, the guy on the Arsenal media and Talk Sport.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That was devastating. Was it a short illness he had, or? I'm
not sure what it was, but he was only 45, wasn't he? If I'm right thinking.
That's no age. That's
three kids.
Yeah, that's devastating. That's devastating. Yeah. Condolences to him, to his family, obviously, and his friends, and anyone that knows him. Yeah, that's shocking stuff. Yeah, 45 is no age. You know, I turned 48 the other day, so I've got 3 kids as well. So yeah, stuff like that really hits home. So yeah, devastating stuff, and especially this time of year, there always seems to be something happens around this time of year, which is sad. But yeah, hopefully they'll find strength in all the support that they'll get from their family and friends. And yeah, but no, thanks for that, Neil. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm really
no problem. But no, thanks very much for your time again, guys. I appreciate it. I'll let you go. I'll get this out into the Arsenal multiverse, and we'll see you on the other side. Come on, the Arsenal.
Man, remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately.